All right, so this is Samsung's compact flagship. And now that we're at the end of the year, heading into 2026, knowing that the successor of this S25 is coming out soon, I want to share with you guys my end of year review. So essentially just my thoughts and opinions and my experience of using this device for the past year. Essentially, it's flagship class internals in a smaller body. It kind of promised a less is more approach, at least from what I have seen. Now, did it actually deliver? Let's kind of find out. Starting things off with design. The S25, it still remains compact at a 6.2 inch display, which may not sound compact, but this is the compact size form factor nowadays. We're not getting less than, sub 6 inch screen sized phones anymore. This is it. 6.2 to 6.3 is now considered the compact form factor, which is a little bit unfortunate, but hey, that's just the way we're headed into going into 2026. We're just going to be getting larger and larger devices. Now, it still feels really premium and really durable to hold in the hand, fairly light as well. So when you're using it, you can easily use it one-handed. It doesn't really dig into the palm of your hand either. I actually really like this. And I also do love this blue color, which was actually essentially the same blue color found on the Galaxy Z Fold 7. I think Samsung has done a phenomenal job. Now, my S25 doesn't have any wear or issues. One, because I'm also using a case with it. I'm just trying to be protective and use my devices carefully, because in the end of the day, like, these are expensive devices. It has like this matte back finish to it, which doesn't really, like, if you shine it at light, you can see the fingerprints, but because of having this blue color specifically, like, you can rock this phone caseless and you won't have too many issues either. Now, I have seen some people talking about like the camera rings falling apart. I haven't come across that, but I'm not going to sit here and try to pull off the camera rings either. It essentially looks almost the same as its predecessor, with the big distinction being the color of the S25 as well as the camera rings. Display is great. It's a 6.2 inch dynamic AMOLED with an adaptive 120 hertz display in this compact form factor with slim bezels. I really do like it. The colors are rich, contrast is strong, the HDR content still is really good for a base model, and I would call this a base model flagship actually. And the resolution here, it's not quad HD, but still full HD, but that's good, because at the screen size, sharpness remains really good, and I haven't had any complaints whatsoever. I think this phone is really great, especially when you're browsing, using it for social media, maybe video streaming, you're using it just to like read articles or any type of general daily use. It doesn't compromise on the comfort, or in some terms, the battery life, which I'll get to in a more some terms. Like, if you're going to use it for some things, then you won't have too much issues in the battery department, but for other things, yes, you will. I'll get to that in a moment. But before I do get into the battery life, I want to talk about the performance and the software. So we get the Snapdragon 8 Elite. It's still a strong chipset. Just because the 8 Elite Gen 5 has been unveiled, it's already releasing smartphones, doesn't mean the Snapdragon 8 Elite is a bad chipset. It's still very powerful heading into 2026. My model has 12 gigs of RAM, and it's been running smoothly the entire year. In fact, literally last night at the time of this recording, I went ahead and downloaded the One UI 8.5 beta. So it's running Android 16 on top of One UI 8.5. And I was using the stable version of Android 16 One UI 8 before. It was great. 8.5 so far. I haven't come across any bugs. And for the most part, Samsung has been great with the beta, so I think I'll be all set until I receive the stable version of 8.5. But I really do love how Samsung is working hard in the software department. But like routine tasks, like I said, social media, browsing, those things, it's going to remain snappy, and you're not going to take a huge hit on the battery life. If you go into heavier workloads, gaming, multitasking, even like video or photo editing, you're still not going to have any issues because of the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset. It does, thermal performance is not that great, but it's not that bad either. Like, it's in the middle. It gets a tad bit warm to the touch. It's not like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra where you have a pretty large vapor cooling chamber. You only get so much out of this phone. It's fairly slim, fairly compact, so it does get a little bit warm to the touch, much warmer at least than the Galaxy S25 Ultra. But for the most part, it still does a great job. And if you're gonna be playing games like Clash of Clans, Call of Duty Mobile on your S25, or you're looking into getting one and these are the things that you do, don't worry, you'll be completely set with this. I think for most users, performance here is gonna remain future-proof for at least those 3-4 years. And then the software aspect, again, 7 years of software updates. Samsung's update commitment has been great. It just gives confidence in long-term support. And again, with my experience so far, no major bugs, crashes, or performance regressions with the regular usage. I think the compact flagship plus the smooth software combo with this S25 Ultra remains one of its key selling points. And I think this is going to carry on into the S26. And in fact, once the S26 does come out, this still remains a compelling device to pick up. Like, you don't need to have the latest and greatest. The S26 comes out, this drops in price, you can find it for hundreds of dollars cheaper. So it may just be a compelling device to pick up once its successor does come out. But so far in the performance department, it's been doing a great job. Now, how about the cameras? It's versatile for everyday use, but obviously it's not going to be S25 Ultra. So we're getting a 50 megapixel main with a 12 megapixel ultra wide and a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto. So it's nice to see that we get a camera setup, a triple camera setup, I'll put it that way, for a compact flagship. I'm going to call it compact flagship. The daytime photos, they're sharp, good detailed, natural color tones, and they're consistent and reliable. I like the results that I get with the photos on Samsung devices. The ultra-wide and the 3x telephoto, they add some useful flexibility without kind of going overboard. And then the night and low light photos are also pretty decent. They're not going to be as great from what I noticed with the S25 Ultra, but they still get the job done. Video, it's good for casual use, and it's not going to compare to anything like the iPhone 17 series. I think those are just more consistent and offer just better quality in general. But if you are in the content space, you want to get into the content space, and this is the device that you have or you're going to get, I think it's a great device. I think any smartphone that you have right now is probably a great device to get started into. I started with an LG G3 back in 2014. So think about it, in 11, 12 years, there's been so many camera upgrades. It would have been so much easier for me to get a huge head start if I had something like an iPhone 17 Pro or even the Samsung Galaxy S25 back in 2014. So again, if you're in that space, I think it's a great choice. Now let's talk about the battery life. Battery life on this and the charging. It's not the greatest. It's all right, especially for me, a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Now that we're completing the year 2025, heading into 2026, seeing new battery tech with the silicon carbon, 4,000 milliamp hours is a small capacity. Yep, 5,000 I think should be the base now, and because we're seeing devices with 6,000 plus, 7,500 milliamp hour batteries in their devices without having them too bulky. Because of using new silicon carbon technology, I think this could do better, at least with its successor. About 4,000 milliamp hours, yeah, I can easily drain this before I finish the day. Like, if I'm using this on a heavy load, then I do have to charge it at least once before I do go to sleep at the end of the day. And then there's the fact that the charging here is slow. 25 watts of wired charging, and Samsung calls that fast charging. Like, that's not fast, Samsung. That is not fast. Make at least 45 watts. If it was 60 watts of fast charging, I would consider that fast, and that'd be pretty great. But if you're just going to charge this overnight, I mean, you're not going to have too much of an issue. But I don't know. I just can't. 25 watts is not fast charging. We all know that. We have devices with 80 watts, 100 watts, and then we get this Samsung claiming it's fast charging. No, it's not. Moving on from that, I think for a smaller flagship, for most people, I think the battery performance is going to remain usable. But for me, it's not really that dependable. It all depends on your own usage. And if you know, like, I'm not going to use my phone too much, like I just call and text here and there, call quality, by the way, is good. It all also depends on your carrier. And since I have my Mint Mobile that I switch back and forth with my main devices, which are always and have always been an Android, call quality has been great on both ends. But that being said, just kind of bringing all of that stuff, what has aged well, I think the compact form factor here, it's still rare, I think, among major flagships in 2025. And it's got super slim bezels, easy to use in one hand. I really do like it. This display, it's smooth, it's bright, it's balanced for long-term use. The performance and software has been responsive. One UI is great, especially if you've used a Samsung device back in the day with TouchWiz UI. You would know how well Samsung has made improvements, how much they have grown and matured in the software department. And then the fact that, for this price point, like this main competitor is the iPhone 17, which gets a dual camera setup. Here we get a triple camera setup. Like at this price point, $900, we're getting devices with only dual camera setup. So it's nice to see that we get a triple camera here with the S25. And it's just pocket friendly. Now, the fact there is some trade-offs, but that is to be expected. Like charging speeds, it's not fast. 4,000 milliamp hours, it's not going to be a large battery capacity, especially when we're getting new battery tech in other devices. But just kind of to wrap things up, the Galaxy S25 remains one of the best compact flagships that I've used, but also that I think you can buy as of right now in late 2025, but also heading into 2026. Now, if you are on the fence and you're like, well, I might as well just wait for the S26, then do that. Wait for the Samsung Galaxy S26 and then make up your decision, make up your choice and see, like, is those new upgrades with the S26 worth picking up, or should I just pick up the S25 for a much cheaper price? But this S25, it delivers a balanced mix. It's a compact size, has premium build, powerful internals, great display, and pretty reliable cameras. It's not going to be a powerhouse like the Galaxy S25 Ultra, and I don't think it tries to be. But for what it aims to be, which I kind of see as 85% of what the S25 Ultra has to offer, it does everything it should do very well. If you want a flagship phone that's easy to handle, comfortable to carry, and above all practical, I think the Galaxy S25 is a smart, well-rounded pick heading into 2026. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, definitely be sure to superman the like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel out a lot. It will help push my content out to more people. Also, check out my latest wallpaper pack right here. It is called Lava Flow. I'll be leaving links in the description down below. That's been it for me, and I'll catch you all in the next episode.